One, my name is Alissa. I am a compulsive eater and a sugar addict, and a few other things I won't go into at this meeting. And like all of you, I weigh and measure my food from the gray sheet, committed to a sponsor, and I don't eat anything in between except water, black coffee, tea, or some other 0-calorie thing. My abstinence date is August 15th, 2008, and I am maintaining about a 95-pound weight loss. Like, my top weight was 220 pounds, and my weight today is 125. And, I go 123, 127, whatever, but this has been granted to me with no effort on my part, because I follow this program with everything I've got. And I'm just so happy to do it because the rewards are so wonderful. I'd like to just take a minute to thank the people who do service in our fellowship and service at this meeting. And thank you, Laura, for asking me to qualify at a meeting that's not at 5:30 in the morning, because this I can handle. So I am 74 years old. I got abstinence in Gray Sheet when I was 59. So I have, because of my advanced age, I have so much wisdom, thank goodness, because I need to use it. So I'll just tell you a little bit about what I was like before, which would be my childhood, teen years, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. So I was a very anxious and depressed child and full of fear. And I was a sugar addict. And for various reasons, I had a lot of fear of new situations. And I can remember being 5 years old, lying in my bed in the morning, looking up at the ceiling and saying, I just can't handle kindergarten today. It's just too much for me. And that poor child, I mean, I just, it was too much. And today I have the skill set. Oh my gosh, why is my sponsor calling? Today I have the tools and the skills and the willingness to handle any situation with pretty much equanimity and serenity. And that is a miracle. Of course, I'm not 5 years old anymore either. Well, I lived on sugar. I never ate at meals. I only ate in between meals. There was plenty of stuff in my house. There were no boundaries or guidelines. And, I could just raid the cupboards any old time. And I did. And yet it was not until I got to puberty that I started gaining weight. And of course, I mean, any American girl in their teens is going to be unhappy with their weight, because that's just, I mean, I won't say any, but it's quite common in America. So even though I was like 120 pounds, I thought I was fat and I hated my body and I wanted to be thinner. So I started smoking cigarettes. That was helpful, something to do. However, American tobacco is cured with sugar, so it was not really that helpful. I was still, getting the substance. And then I was so unhappy in college that I didn't know what to do, so I got married. And I got the heck out of there. I'm happy to say I married the right person. We've been married for 54 years. And during that time, I've been growing up. So after a few years of marriage, we were ready to start a family. I had 4 pregnancies. With each pregnancy, I gained more weight and lost less weight after the pregnancy. And so finally, I got up to 220 pounds, I guess in my 40s. And I think a big part of my, well, besides being self-hating, a big part of my problem was that I really had no sense of purpose or direction. And I think that's why I got married so young, that I would have a defined role. And the things that I wanted to do with my life, I was too afraid to. When my husband went to law school, and this was in late, like 1970 or so. And at that time, like basically no women or very few went to law school. And all of the wives of the law students were saying, like, let's go to law school. And they said, come on, Alissa, come to law school with us. I was afraid because in my mind, law students and lawyers are men. I can't do that. So I shied away from it. But anyway, so then, I was a stay-at-home mom for 15 years. And I always finished what was on their plate, the kids' plates, the breakfast food, the little ends of the lunch thing, whatever. I was just always eating, and I always bought treats for them, which I ate, and then I had to rebuy the treats for them. It was just very sad. And then in the 1980s, I read a book, a biography of John Cheever by his daughter, called Home Before Dark. He was an alcoholic who got sober in a late in life. And I just loved that book. And I at that time I was very depressed. I spent most of my time in bed unless I had, like a family responsibilities. And I remember lying in my bed and thinking, if only there was something like that for me, but I'm not an alcoholic. And then I found OA, and I found another program, which is not really active today, for emotionally self-destructive behaviors and attitudes. And so I got a good recovery, and yet I did not understand what the solution was. I did not understand about the carbohydrates and the grains. And so I bumped along up and down for 9 years. And then I guess I left. I tried a coach. I tried every diet, whatever I could think of. Nothing was helping. I was miserable. And then in 2008, 3 of my children got married that year. And of course, I wanted to look good in the pictures. So I got a weight loss coach and a trainer. I gained weight. And so a friend who is in another fellowship said, well, if nothing else works, GreySheet will. And she took me to GreySheet, and I got a sponsor. And that was a miracle. And so I didn't get a sponsor at the first meeting. The second meeting, a man said, well, I don't sponsor women, but I'll start you off. Well, he's still my sponsor today, because I didn't hear that part. But what I did hear was, so that on my day 1, I was going to eat in a restaurant in Manhattan, and I lived in the suburbs. So that was scary, because I really wasn't an expert on the scale and, asking for the plates and all that stuff. So I said, well, can I just, like eyeball it and then start tomorrow? And he said, Alissa, you have 3 options. That was magic. I never had any options before. My only option was eat everything that, my plate, your plate, anything. So he said, you can eat an abstinent meal before you meet the people for dinner. You can weigh and measure your food at the dinner table, or you could just sit there and sip beverages and eat your own dinner after the restaurant. Well, that was out. So what I did was I packed crudités in a bag that I ate on the way into the restaurant. And then it was my daughter. We were having dinner with my daughter and her maid of honor and the parents of the maid of honor. So I got everyone involved helping me weigh the food, and that was a miracle. And I've never looked back. And over time, I have learned how important this program is and how deep it is. And it is the absolute center of my existence. And all the wonderful things in my life come from practicing the principles of this program. So I went from someone with no direction, no purpose, to someone who has purpose. So I want to read two of my favorite quotes. I wrote 85, let me see, 73, no, excuse me, 77, here we go. At the moment, we are trying to put our lives in order. This refers to the fourth and fifth. Oh, I guess it's 8 and 9. This the action steps. But this is not an end in itself. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. Well, that really electrified me, because I was sure that, I was not fit for anything. I could not help anyone.
10 minutes, Alissa.
Thank you. Oh, good. Now we're getting into the after part. Thank you. And so that made sense to me. It's like, aha, now I know how to live, how to position myself. I'm still going to do the grocery shopping, take out the garbage, make dinners for my family, have friendships, have a job. And yet underneath all of that is the understanding that these activities are being done with the awareness that I am striving to be of service to the higher power, which is like the whole world, everything, and to the people in my little orbit. And the other thing that I love is 85. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. Now, this one really was like medicine to me. This is what I have to do. I have to get a vision of God's will and then carry it into all of my activities. It took a while, because I could generally understand what the higher powers way, what would be suggested to me. However, to implement it, to take the actions, that took me a while. It's like, oh, I'm going to be a good person, blah, 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 into all of my activities, put the shopping cart back in front of the store, be kind, to live the intentions, like don't just have good intentions, do the actions that are part of the intentions. And so this is how I've been going along, growing in this understanding since August of 2008. And the way I do that is I go to meetings, I have a sponsor, I have sponsees, and I'm learning about myself, and I'm learning that the boundaries from the food is the underpinning for me. And yet it spills over to all of my activities, because I have to have boundaries in what I say and don't say. And there are some slogans I like, which like, don't just say something, sit there. And that really helped me with my family members and my adult children, if my coworkers before I retired, that it's not my job to tell you, that you should be doing this and not that, or why did you do that? I mean, if your fly is unzipped or something, I'll say something, but I'm not going to tell you how to live. And that really was a big eye opener for me, because I preferred to look at what you're doing wrong than to even be aware of myself. And then as soon as I got the 90 days, I was encouraged to do service, and I did. At that time, we were all in-person meetings. I was the treasurer, I was booker. I spoke when asked to, or even volunteered. I tried to always share at meetings. And I went to as many meetings as I could. And then I had to set boundaries, because I was so happy in the meetings. Then I said, Alissa, you can't go to more than 5 meetings a week. You have a family, you have a job, you know. So I'm just learning in every which way that I must have boundaries. With Zoom, it's a little easier, but I try not to go to more than 2 meetings a day, because I'm still doing plenty of living amends. And so I've taken many step workshops. I've gone to retreats. I've led step workshops.
Alissa, that's 15 minutes.
Okay, so I'll just end with this, that this, what I would say is this, my program is like the song Getting to Know You, which I'm sure you all know from, I forget the name of the, the King of Siam, whatever that show is called. And so getting to like you, my higher power, and all of you in its neutral way, and hoping that you like me. But if you don't, that's okay, because I have a fellowship. Thank you so much for letting me share. I hope I was helpful.